What villain was terrifying because they were right? Ken from the Bee Movie. I too would go absolutely berserk if a talking bee stole my girlfriend and gaslit me into thinking I was crazy. Colonel Kurtz. We train young men to drop fire on people, but their commanders won't allow them to write duck on their airplanes because it's obscene. Apocalypse Now is one of those movies where, depending upon when you watch it and what version you watch, your view of it can change. Edit. Wow, this blew up. I don't know which version offhand is best. If I recall correctly, the pacing of the original is much better and more enjoyable. The Redux is good, but the pacing isn't as great, and I found it to be a darker watch in a way. I'd stick with the original and go from there. Definitely recommend giving Hearts of Darkness, a filmmaker's Apocalypse, a watch if you've seen Apocalypse Now a few times. The documentary on making it is pretty insane. Count Dooku just straight up told Obi-Wan that the Sith control the Senate. The replicants from Blade Runner. Used as slaves and given artificially short lives. They just wanted to live and be free. In the book, they didn't have artificially short lives. The scientists just couldn't figure out how to make them live longer. Their digestive system would start breaking down. Emergent macrostructure failure. Nice. The bears from Goldilocks and the Three Bears. She broke in, ate their food, broke some furniture, and slept in their beds. My 4-years-old loves it when the bears eat her, at least in the one I tell him. He always says he thinks she is the bad person, lol. General Hummel from The Rock. I will not give that order, I will not repeat that order, I cannot give that order, what the hell is wrong with you, man? Hashtag X200B, such a great scene for both points there. That's up there with Crimson Tide when Gene Hackman and Denzel are giving orders over each other during the mutiny. You're presuming that we have other submarines out there ready to launch. But as captain, I must assume that our submarines could have been taken out by other Oculus. We can play these games all night, Mr. Hunter, but I don't have the luxury of your presumptions. Mr. Hunter, we have rules that are not open to interpretation, personal intuition, gut feelings, hairs on the back of your neck, little devils or angels sitting on your shoulders. We're all very well aware of what our orders are and what those orders mean. They come down from our Commander-in-Chief. They contain no ambiguity. Mr. Hunter, I've made the decision. I'm captain of this boat. Now shut the duck up. Gladys, she was absolutely right, you are a terrible person. We weren't even testing for that. Bobby Heenan. Spent the 80s telling us how awful and selfish Hulk Hogan was. Was proven absolutely correct in 1996. In hindsight, Heenan was trying to save us all from the inevitable scourge of Hollywood Hogan. How did we miss that? His name was the Brain. The Hamburglar was just trying to save children from childhood obesity. If Mayor McCheese and Officer Big Mac are anthropomorphic burger folk, that means Hamburglar is carrying a bag of severed heads. It's 7 but for kids. What's in the bag? Arya's parents on Pretty Little Liars. They're villainized for not letting their high school daughter date her teacher? Yeah, that relationship was just. Like, why normalize that at all? I know why they attempted to normalize it. It was rhetorical and doesn't require an answer and was meant to display the disgust I have with the attempt. See also, Magneto, the Holocaust survivor, not wanting his species genocided. His Zman plan was quite reasonable. Convert the world elite into mutants, thus guaranteeing they treat mutant fairly. Roy Batty. What was done to him and his kind was wrong and he had righteous anger. In the book, the story is very different. A lot of time is spent by Deckard contemplating what it meant to be human. At one point, he runs into a Blade Runner that is a psychopath and after an argument demands that the Voight-Kopf test be performed on him. Deckard finds out he is human but he is a complete psychopath and is less human than the replicants. The story ends with Deckard killing all the replicants and getting high reward which he was using to buy a replacement animal for his wife. Hashtag X200B, there is no righteous anger in the story. The opera singer replicant just gives up and lets them kill her. The final shootout with the last of the replicants is no more special or human than a pet control guy shooting some dogs that went into hiding. The story is very depressing and no one is really angry, just resigned to fate in a system that is very inhumane. Stevie from Wizards of Waverly Place. Her entire goal was to stop families from giving up their magic to just one person in the family. Like, were A really supposed to be rooting against her? It just seems super out of character for Alex to go against that plan. Edit, thanks for all the upvotes. I got to experience seeing something I put on Reddit appear on my FIP on TikTok for the first time. I was thinking exactly this. Why give up your powers when everyone can have them? Only one member of the family having wizard powers seems unsustainable for the wizarding world. I get it that it was not very nice of her to trap her brother, but she was 100% right. I really thought Alex would do it. I cannot understand how or why did Alex double-cross her. Frankenstein's monster. Adam. Created by a short-sighted, arrogant doctor as the first of his race, then denied the opportunity to be part of a community, of his own, man-made beings, or the human community. He only became monstrous after it became clear that Frankenstein would never create another of his kind, and was driven mad by his desire to punish Frankenstein's hubris. So, Frankenstein was the monster after all. Knowledge is knowing Frankenstein wasn't the monster. Wisdom is knowing he was. Wisdom is not giving Frankenstein a tomato salad. None of you said the most terrifying one. Mojo Jojo from the Powerpuff Girls. He wanted to bring free energy and advanced technology to the people. And in one episode he actually did. He made the world an amazing place. And then the Powerpuff Girls ruined it all. I just read his backstory, pretty sad. The professor accidentally created him by spilling Chemical X on him. He was a lab assistant at the time, but then after the Powerpuff Girls were created, the professor eventually neglected Mojo and left him to live out on the streets. I never even realized he had a backstory. That's really sad actually. There's a whole episode about it. The professor invites Mojo back into their life and is tricked by Mojo into giving him powers like the Powerpuff Girls. Then he turns on them and tries to take over the town. Maul. His last words before being captured by the Republic was, "You're all going to burn. You're all going to die. You don't know what you're doing." He tried to warn Ahsoka of Palpatine's ultimate plan, but she didn't listen. He even told her that Palps was planning on using her master. I mean, he connected the dots right there, but it was too late. Why didn't he tell her Palpatine was the Chancellor though? Sidious was the Chancellor. They knew his name was Sheev Palpating. Palpating examine, a part of the body, by touch, especially for medical purposes. We need an illustration of Sheev palpating. Magneto is my favorite villain of all time. Every time his motives are brought to light I get that yeah, I kinda get it moment. One of the only good bits out of that god-awful excuse for a Phoenix movie, X3, was just Magneto giving side-eye to the young mutants asking for his tattoos. He just whips out the concentration camp number and stone cold "No one is ever marking me again." Like that was a bad movie, but at least they got that attitude right. Another good one from that movie was Charles Xavier did more for mutants than you will ever know. My single greatest regret is that he had to die for our dream to live. He always did love Charles like a brother. Charles and Eric make my top 10 favorite characters easily. Their genuine care and respect for each other despite being often at odds makes them my favorite character pair in printed media. King Kong. Not even because he was right. He was just alive. Minding his own business and blam, taken out of his home and made to be the villain without any choice. A real good example of human nature. Edit a word. I never saw Kong as a villain. Yeah, he is not villain nor hero. He is a wild animal acting on instinct that got sent to a strange land to be a circus act. He was confused by his new restraints and environment, and of course he lashed out. Dr. Doofenshmirtz. He was his most right when he rapped, "There's a platypus controlling me underneath the table." So true. Don't we all each have our own personal platypuses controlling us from under tables? Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin from Spider-Man. In spite of everything you've done for them, eventually, they will hate you. Dude was right about how the perception of public figures changes over time. I chose my path, you chose the way of the hero. And though they found you amusing for a time, if Therese one thing people love more than a hero, it's to see a hero fall, fail, die trying. Don't tell Harry.